After sitting out all but 5 games of this past 2019-20 regular season, many people mistakenly expected Stephen Curry to have a rather slow return to the court this year. Add in the fact that Klay Thompson would remain out for the entirety of the campaign, and it made Curry's landscape, as well as the Warriors, much less bright. But instead, we've seen Curry come close to replicating the numbers of his unanimous MVP season and once again putting Golden State on his back. But will his efforts be recognized at the end of the year? Today, we will take a look at whether Steph Curry will be snubbed of the MVP award in 2021. But before we do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So let's just start by asking, why did people even expect Curry to be not so good this year anyway? Sure, he looked like he was struggling a little bit in the 5 games he did play last season, but that was just a byproduct of small sample sizes. Even if you look at Curry's start to this 2020-21 season, he wasn't scoring at the efficient level you usually expect him to. But 2.5 months into the season, Curry looks as good as ever on the court. If anything, playing only 5 basketball games since June 2019 helped Curry more than it did harm. Del Curry, Steph's father, explained it best recently. The time he had off to not only rest his body but refresh his mind. He played a lot of basketball the last 5 years, high-intensity basketball. So anytime you can refresh your mind and get that hunger back from being injured, not making the playoffs, not going to the bubble, you regain that hunger. All of that combined is why he has good energy playing like he is. As much as people took it for granted and it became commonplace, Steph Curry led the Golden State Warriors to 5 straight NBA Finals appearances from 2015 through 2019 and barely caught a break in between. He did miss 2 separate portions of the 2018 and 2019 regular seasons, but he still played in more than 87% of his games in that 5-year span, his father mentions. And even though Curry's energy is always at a 100, you'd have to think it was only a matter of time before he broke down on a schedule as grueling as the one he went through. Only LeBron James can claim to ever have a heavier burden on his back with the 9 finals trips he made between 2011 and 2020. Having so much time to rest his body and mind last season was exactly what Curry needed to return to MVP form. And so far, his case as one of the MVP frontrunners is undeniable. Through 33 games, Curry is averaging 30 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 6.3 assists on 48% shooting from the field, 42% from three-point range, and 94% from the free throw line. Nobody has more points or threes this year than Chef Curry, and he's well on his way to replicating his 2016 unanimous MVP season with 50, 40, 90 splits. But is it possible that even if he ends up with the exact same number he had in his second MVP season, Curry will be snubbed of the Maurice Podoloff Trophy? Let's take a look at the common criteria for the MVP award. As we all know, there isn't a specific, well-defined criteria for the MVP award. This has been the root of endless frustration for fans throughout the years, as there usually are multiple worthy candidates every year, but the main reason why the winner actually gets the award changes from season to season. This has both its positives and its negatives. For instance, not having set criteria for the award makes the race less predictable and much more open. But also, given each of the voters has its own interpretation of how much each of the common criteria counts for their vote, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the different winners. The award winner's criteria isn't something that will change by the end of the season, nor something that has been discussed by the league office, so let's see where Steph Curry stands in the different areas that usually have the most weight on the final voting. First up, his raw numbers. We already saw Curry's basic box score stats, so let's go a little deeper. Steph leads all point guards with 1.34 points per shot attempt and a 60.6 efficient field goal percentage per cleaning the glass, which essentially solidifies him as one of the most efficient players in the league. Many of the more efficient players above him are big men, so when you consider how many more shots Curry takes and how much more difficult they are, he's clearly on a different level. There's nobody better at making difficult shots or anybody better at making volume shots at a high clip. But the most impressive stat of them all, the Warriors are 21.4 points per 100 possessions better when Curry is on the court this season. Or Golden State is 21.4 points per 100 possessions worse when Curry sits on the bench, depending on how you prefer to see things. Either way, the impact Steph has on the game is undeniable, and it isn't crazy to say he is still the most impactful player in the NBA. Now, let's look at another important aspect in the MVP race: a good narrative. Curry himself partly benefited from the narrative in 2015, too, as he unexpectedly led the Warriors to 67 wins, the most in the NBA that year. And despite already being one of the faces of the NBA, Steph has a great storyline going on this season: the challenge to return back to the top of the Western Conference without Kevin Durant and with a very different roster that is also missing Klay Thompson this season. Just think about it. How impressive is it that Steph is having his second best season ever with a team that features only 3 players that were his teammates in the Dubs' last finals appearance: Draymond Green, Kevin Looney, and Damian Lee. Everybody else arrived to the team either last year or this offseason. We've seen how big of a struggle the team faced early on in the year. Kelly Oubre was having a hard time adjusting. James Wiseman couldn't keep himself out of foul trouble. Draymond Green suddenly became a non-existent scoring threat, and Steph's role as a leader makes up for a great storyline, as he's not only leading them on the court but also mentoring everybody else and helping them get used to how things work in the Bay Area. Finally, and perhaps the most important area in the MVP race, team success. It may sound contradictory that a player award is so influenced by teams' results, but when you think about it, if you're truly the most valuable player in the entire NBA, your team's record must reflect it. This is the biggest bump in Curry's road to the 2021 MVP award. The Golden State Warriors are not a top-seeded team in the Western Conference, but we know with how tight the West is, 3 to 4 extra wins could be the difference between the 3rd and 8th seed. Luckily for Curry, the Warriors appear to be on the right track. They're coming off their first 3-game winning streak of the season, and everything else is slowly falling into place. The only recent instance of an MVP winner whose team was lower than a number 3 seed is Russell Westbrook in 2017, when OKC finished at 6th. But the statistical race is so close between the rest of the MVP frontrunners that Curry won't be able to get away with something like that this year. Basically, if the Warriors manage to finish the season with a 3rd or 4th seed in the West, something that is totally doable, then Curry's odds at an MVP award will be as good as they get. But if Golden State can't claim home court advantage in the NBA playoffs, then Steph can very well say goodbye to the 2021 MVP award. Regardless of how it goes, Curry will likely be among the finalists. He knows he's up there because when he was asked if he thought he deserved the MVP award last month, Curry simply responded, "The game speaks for itself." And it truly does. Do you think Stephen Curry will win the MVP award this year? Let us know in the comments down below. And once again, make sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching another Swish Central video, and join us next time for more NBA basketball content.